Did you see Kingdom Come Deliverance 2 got announced? I tried to get into the first game, but I found it like clunky and kind of unfun to play. It seemed to me like one of those games that if you really got into it and you got into the simulation side of things, it could be a lot of fun. But unfortunately, when I started playing that, I was more in the mind of like, could somebody please make Skyrim but good? Which is something I'm often thinking in my head. It's very difficult for me to, I want this so badly, and nobody seems to be willing to make it. I was honestly pretty let down by Dragon's Dogma 2, by the way. I finished it. I got the true ending. And man, I gotta say, like, that game has some glaring flaws that it just never addressed. I was kind of hoping that, like, as the game got closer to the end, it would flesh out some of the, like, it would fill in some of the sort of problems and yeah, but yeah. Are you gonna play Hades too? Yes. Kingdom Come Deliverance was very good and very clunky. Can't wait for the sequel. Yeah, man, can somebody please make Skyrim but good? Like, please. Genuinely, please. That'd be really nice if they could do that. What's the best game like that, I'm trying to think. Cyberpunk was closest. Well, yeah, but that's not Skyrim. I'm talking medieval here. Witcher 3? I guess maybe Witcher 3. I don't know. Yeah, maybe Witcher 3. You can't fix Skyrim, Neon Lemon. Witcher 3 didn't age well. Well, the combat for the Witcher games has never been great. Unfortunately, you play a game like Elden Ring and it's like, oh, The Witcher 3 is going to be like, it's going to be like a big action RPG or whatever. It's kind of not though at all. I wanted Skyrim but good from Dragon's Dogma. But you know what? Dragon's Dogma is tiny. That game map is minuscule. I was positive that like the whole the world, like after some big event or something, it'd all open up or whatever, but like no. It's really, really, really small. And the game just like, it felt like there was no pacing at all. Elden Ring broke this, man. No, okay, I'm unironically doing the bit, okay? We need more games that have kind of mid graphics, but are a lot larger, all right? Like, I recently just finished another Crab's Treasure, and that game was pretty big, despite being made by a small team, and it got away with it because of its, like, very small, low level of graphical fidelity. Advocating for open world. I think open world games are good in some contexts, as long as you can properly like build out on that feeling of exploration and discovery, The main issue with Elden Ring being open world is the fact that it sucks on replay, because now you know where everything is and 90% of the game world is useless to you. A ton of the dungeons and side areas are literally just like, oh, that has a spell that I'm never going to use, So then you just beeline. It takes 16 extra hours because you have to go and get all the upgrade materials. Whereas if you're just playing Dark Souls 3, it's just a straight line, right? Like there are some side areas, but they're like, those side areas are also straight paths that you take. And that means that if you're going on replay, it's really fun. I loved replaying Dark Souls 3, Dark Souls 1, Dark Souls 2. Replaying Elden Ring was kind of a chore, to be honest, because I'd have to do the like 6-hour runabout where it's like, okay, I want to try this build, so I'm going to need this item and that item and this item and that item. So let me run about getting all the upgrade materials. And then like it's like, okay, now I can fight Margit. It's like, okay, So when is open world good then? I think that open world is good in an environment where there's like genuinely a great feeling of exploration and variety in the path you're taking. Like I think Skyrim, if it was good, would be a good example of that, because in Skyrim you genuinely can kind of like walk in any direction and just like, discover some stuff. Though the problem with that being, of course, that Skyrim is terrible. So, would you describe that as grinding? No, that's not grinding. Play KOTOR? I've played KOTOR. I haven't played the early Elder Scrolls game. Yeah, that was my biggest problem with Elden Ring. It just feels like a linear game with a needlessly huge open world. Do you think that Elden Ring would have been better if it was genuinely open in its construction? So rather than it just being like low level area, higher level area, higher level area, but rather it being like there's a ton of like final goal stuff scattered across the map and you just kind of move about in whatever pattern feels the best to you. I don't really know, because then like you'd go into higher level stuff early, but you don't want to have level scaling because level scaling ruins the open world experience. We learned that from Skyrim. I don't know. That was New Vegas, open world, but very linear story. Yeah. And you kind of follow New Vegas in the same path every time, unless you deliberately know how to avoid it, like on a replay. I just think that open world isn't best applied to most games. I agree. I think that I think that if you're going to do the open world thing, you really need to have a game design that complements it, and you're not just like building an open world around a game that could be linear, because that's what Elden Ring did, right? Like Elden Ring had a linear version of it, and it's all the other FromSoft games, and then they're like, okay, what if we built out the open world around it? And it's like, well, no, a truly open world, like there are true open worlds, right? Like again, I think Skyrim kind of fits into this to an extent, imperfectly done. I think that Outer Wilds. There are some good examples. RDR2. I've never played Red Dead Redemption 2. I know I should. It's just like, it's a lot. You know, it's a lot. I think you'd have to have new monsters, mob types, jump puzzles, whatever, after a number of boss kills. Well, it's complicated. It's complicated. I love how the internet deluded itself into thinking Elden Ring was a good game / concept. Whoa, 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 whoa. Elden Ring is a phenomenal game. I think that Elden Ring is literally as good as that type of game can get. It just has like a glaring flaw. But like you're taking a concept that has a glaring flaw and you're elevating it to like the highest possible level. Like you're making a masterpiece out of a flawed premise, basically, which is impressive in and of itself, right? It would have been a lot easier to knock it out of the park by just making Dark Souls 3 but twice as long, you know? Like that would have been a pretty clean win there. It would have been easier to do as well. Would you say Breath of the Wild is more? Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom are definitely mustache here. Definitely true open world, yeah, for sure. 100%, yeah. The problem is they have a bunch of other design flaws. Does anybody else feel like the shell system from Another Crab's Treasure is unironically like a better version of the weapon durability that they introduced in Tears of the Kingdom and Breath of the Wild and stuff? I feel like that was a more fun version of that in a lot of ways. I have not seen anything about Avowed. You're sort of describing Valheim? No, I'm not. I've played Valheim. That's not at all. Valheim is procedurally generated. It's like saying Minecraft when talking about open world. It's not. Breath of the Wild had level scaling. Yeah, but it did level scaling right, where it didn't just like invisibly increase the health of the same enemies, but rather it like spawned in new versions of the enemies in the area, which is good. That's fine. That I'm fine with, you know? The most important thing that you could do with that level scaling is keeping in the old monsters too. So as you level up, now like white goblins spawn and they're like really damaging or whatever, but you still have the original red ones that die in like one hit now, so you can be reminded of how strong you've become. Like Halo but RPG. We're reaching the point where people are contributing to this discussion entirely by just listing whatever game comes to the top of their head. Fallout New Vegas had a mixed approach to level scaling. Raiders mostly stayed as weak schmucks, but the NCR and Caesar's Legion scaled with your level. I did like that, but like we can all agree that the Caesar's Legion hit squads, the fucking gang stalkers that came after you, those sucked, right? We all know that. Just seeing like a line of 4 guys charging at you from the distance, and then like when they get close enough, they're like, "Hey, you!" and then they attack. And if they attack at like an inopportune time, you might be kind of because you could be like already fighting something or whatever, and they were really strong too. Depending on like what your most recent weapon pickup was. I think the problem for me with games like that is that you never feel like you're fighting a unique or distinct enemy when you're just fighting a dude with a gun. Bandits, NCR, and Caesar's Legion all fight the same. They all do the exact same, like stand, then move to the side a bit, then move behind the rock. Like they have different guns, but the different guns for the most part just affects how quickly you take damage that you can't avoid, you know? Like it's hit scan bullets, you know, they hit you or they don't. It's not like you're dodging different attack patterns or whatever. I feel like it'd be more interesting if different enemy types had different like AI patterns or even different speed, you know? Like just give them something to distinguish them in a fight. So you look at a guy and go like, "Oh shit, that's that guy. You know, I need to handle him in a different way," rather than it just being like, "Oh, that guy has the biggest gun of this group. Therefore, like his damage is the best." Attack patterns, Dark Souls brain. I'm pretty sure the concept of an attack pattern goes back pretty far, you know. Bowser from Super Mario Bros. You know, he jumps or he shoots fire. The powder gangers used a lot of explosives, for example. Yeah, and I liked that. But that level of like distinction did not continue. And also explosives are a categorically different type of weapon, as opposed to just like most of the guns being higher damage versions of lower level guns. Why didn't the developers of New Vegas work on combat mechanics more and make it better? It was dog shit. Well, for one, they only had 18 months to make one of the best games of the generation. And second of all, they were working with the dog shit engine Bethesda had handed them. So, you know, like for example, if certain mobs were known to ambush you on the road. No. I mean like patterns of attack. Like basically every enemy in Fallout New Vegas that isn't a human has one thing they do, which is they walk up to you and then they hit you. Like the roaches, the scorpions, the flying doodads, the bigger flying doodads, the dogs, they go up to you and then they attack you, you know? Enemies will have the same kind of like standing about, moving side to side, you know, like shooting a little bit. Sometimes they go behind cover a bit. They all act basically the same is what I mean. I mean like patterns of attack, you know? Even the death claws? Yeah, even the death claws. One of the biggest problems with that system has always been like, there should always be a way to avoid enemies, you know? And by avoid enemies, I don't mean backpedaling while shooting or like jumping around level geometry. I mean like a way of avoiding enemies. And it's like how they added a dodge to the remaster of Resident Evil 2, you know, like a dodge roll or like a quick like little dash or something, or even just a quick sprint that you could use, you know, something that actually lets you like avoid an attack as opposed to just, you know, you just sort of arrive at the fight and then you both deal your damage and whoever was farther away or dealt more damage faster wins. RE4 remake parry? Yeah, that shit slapped. Hell yeah. Hell yeah. Yeah, Dead Space is known for having good enemy variety, I think. Sneak is a way to avoid enemies. No, I mean avoiding them in combat. Like, to avoid attacks, not to avoid the enemies altogether. That's tough for you, Miss Grimm. The Legion Assassins also charge you with melee weapons. That was a mix-up, no? Yeah, but that just means they act like a dog or like a scorpion, you know? They just run forward at you. Yeah, look, the good parts of New Vegas are the level and world design and the writing and the RPG mechanics, but the combat itself is just the same as Fallout 3, which means it's bad. You know, but it's still a good game, obviously. No, I've never played the Arkham games. New Vegas added iron sights. Well, that was important, yes.